Hey guys, today I'm going to break down evidence from the Black Clover manga that proves Yuno's mother is still alive and is being kept as a prisoner by the Dark Triad. There's one particular panel I found when rereading the series that confirms a lot of what I'm about to say, because in the background of it we can see a member of the Spade Kingdom royal family who was there when the Magic Knights invaded the castle. As we continue the video, I will reveal where this mystery person appears, and by the end you'll understand how this theory affects the future of Black Clover in a very big way. Before we get into it though, I'd really appreciate if you smash that sub button, and drop a like as well if you want to see more content like this. Okay, so in the years before the Dark Triad took over the Spade Kingdom, we know that it was the Grinberryall family who were in charge, with Yuno's parents being the king and queen. For generations, their family possessed a unique brand of magic related to astronomy, with King Loyce having sun magic, Ciel having moon magic, and Yuno having star magic. This kind of magic is so unique that when Yuno finally awakened his power in chapter 309, Zenon instantly realized he was royalty, since only a Grinberryall would have that type of ability. It's important to remember this going forward, because it means that we can easily identify members of Yuno's bloodline based on whether they have star magic or other similar magic types. Now moving on, I'm going to explain why the Dark Triad left the Queen alive, and then after that I'll reveal evidence proving that other members of the Grinberryalls are also still around. If we flash all the way back to when King Loyce ruled the country, Spade's military was known as the Mage Defense Force, and all three members of the Dark Triad were a part of it. In the Black Clover anime, there was a scene in which the king was addressing them, and as Dante raises his head, he stares directly at Yuno's mother and then just laughs to himself. This scene was never in the manga, so it's interesting that they added a moment that creates a connection between Queen Ciel and Dante that never previously existed. What makes this even crazier is that when he's staring at Ciel, he wasn't even talking to her, he was talking to Yuno's father, so it's weird that his eyes would be focused on the queen when she had nothing to do with their conversation. This to me was the first hint that Dante had a fascination with Ciel, and it was further confirmed when the Dark Triad took over the kingdom. During the uprising, it was Dante again who confronted both the king and queen, but after this encounter, the king was the only one shown to be dead, despite the queen being next to him only seconds earlier. Clearly this was meant to imply that she didn't suffer the same fate, and this is supported by pretty much everything that happens afterwards. As an example, there are at least 3 times when someone references the Dark Triad attacking the royal family, and each time no one ever references the queen, almost like Tabata is trying to avoid explicitly confirming she's dead. If you're a Black Clover fan, then you know that if Tabata doesn't explicitly confirm a death, then more than likely that character is still alive. I mean, hell, even when the death is explicitly confirmed, it can still be undone, so Queen Ciel being alive is more than a fair assumption. On top of that, Dante's sinister fascination with her makes perfect sense when we examine him as a character. In chapter 244, when he attacked the Black Bull's hideout, he was interested by Grey and Vanessa's magic and told both of them to return back to the Spade Kingdom so they could be his women. Had he not been defeated, then it's guaranteed he would have taken them by force, because in his mind they didn't have a choice. This was proven when he initially met Vanessa, because after only a few minutes, he declared that she was already his woman, and that she couldn't use her power for anyone else except him. What this proves is that Dante wants to gather strong women against their will, so that they can use their magic for his own gain, and the anime sets up that Ciel was his first victim. As the Queen of Spades, she had powerful magic that possibly surpassed Grey and Vanessa, and I'd go even as far as to say that Ciel might have been Arcane Stage, because Dante seems to be particularly interested in that type of woman. It's possible that while keeping her as a prisoner, he used her moon magic to learn more about the underworld, as arcane magic is known to interfere with devils in various ways. Additionally, if we consider that Dante is a narcissist who, refers to himself in the third person and wears a crown, it's fair to say that he considers himself to be the king of the Spade Kingdom, and as the king, it's only right in his mind that he has a queen by his side. Over the past 17 years, Ciel would have been his unwilling prisoner, and by her being under his control, it would make Dante feel more legitimate as ruler of the country. In a second, I'll explain how the rest of the Dark Triad would benefit from Queen Ciel being a prisoner, but first, let's talk about the big piece of evidence I mentioned in the intro, which proves that another member of Yuno's family is around in the present day. During season 4, we got this scene when the Triad began attacking the castle, and as they killed a ton of soldiers along the way, people began to realize the only way they'd survive is if they agreed to submit instead of resisting. It's for that reason that certain members of the Grinberryall family would have surrendered, and given that Zenon values strength above virtually everything else, he would have definitely allowed a few of them to join the Dark Disciples. Remember, although the royal family magic is powerful, the king was still easily defeated, and Yuno admitted his star magic wasn't strong enough to beat Zenon by itself, so the Zogratis siblings would have never felt threatened by having royals among their ranks. This finally brings us to the panel I discovered that proves this theory beyond any doubt, and the panel in question comes in chapter 275. In that chapter, a select group of Magic Knights were transported to the Spade Kingdom to defeat the Dark Triad, and hiding in plain sight, is this soldier who is literally using star magic. This chapter was released 10 months before Yuno was revealed to have star magic, and as a result, none of us knew how significant it was, because at the time we had no idea what star magic even looked like. Looking back at it now, nearly a year later, there can be absolutely no question that this is the same power, and a member of the Grinberryall family is one of the Dark Disciples. As you can see from this image, they have at least 10 stars, which is double the amount Yuno has, but it was revealed in chapter 310 that the stronger the mage, the more stars they can create. Considering that Yuno has only had this power for less than a day as of making this video, that explains why he's so far behind his relative, but by the end of his fight with Zenon, he was already making new ones, so I feel like he's going to catch up pretty quickly. While it's impossible for us to know where this disciple ranks on the Grinberryall family tree, we can tell from zooming in that he has light coloured hair unlike the king and queen. So if I had to guess, I'd say that this is Yuno's cousin, but let me know your guesses in the comments down below. Whoever this guy is, his existence confirms my theory that the Dark Triad are currently using members of the royal family for their own gain, whether that be as soldiers or as prisoners. We've already spoken about why Dante would want the queen to be locked up, but for Vanica and Zenon, they'd benefit in a much different way. In Vanica's case, one of her greatest powers in the present day is the ability to control people with curses, as we've seen her do it to not only the shining generals of the Diamond Kingdom, but also to Queen Loyce of the Heart Kingdom. At some point in the last 17 years, she would have needed to try out this particular curse for the first time, and there's a good chance in my mind that Ciel was her first test subject. I say that because in chapter 296, Vanica said that when she first became a devil host, she wanted to test her power on strong people, hence why she went looking to fight Noel's mother. By that same logic, the Queen of Spade would also have been a perfect vessel to try out curses, but unlike Acia, Vanica wouldn't have been allowed to kill the Queen because she technically belongs to Dante. As a result, wherever Ciel is right now, she's likely under the influence of a curse that makes her subservient to the Dark Triad in the same way Loyce was. I feel that before the Spade Kingdom arc ends, Yuno will come face to face with his mother in this condition, but with Gordon and Asta being a thing, I feel like there's a good chance Ciel can still be turned back to normal. Now, when it comes to how Zenon would have used the former queen, I think his intention wouldn't have been to use her as a test dummy, but rather he wanted to take advantage of her knowledge. Specifically, there were the two ancient demons sealed underneath the kingdom, and each of those demons used to be members of the Grinberryall family. The royals were the ones making sure they stayed sealed all this time, but it was Zenon who was eager to release them, so maybe he used Ciel for information on where they were and what magic was needed to break them free from the ice. Presumably there might be other secrets she told him that we don't know about yet, but overall, if this theory is correct, then Yuno's mother has been kept as a prisoner for the past 17 years, and has been used as a test dummy for curses, been forced to use her moon magic for Dante, and has had her royal knowledge exploited by Zenon. Following this, it's time for us to talk about how Ciel being alive solves one of the biggest problems about the future of this series. Ever since the beginning, Asta and Yuno have had this rivalry to see who would become the Wizard King. However, one big obstacle that they'll have to confront eventually is who's going to rule the Spade Kingdom once everything is done. Although Yuno hasn't shown any desire to be in charge, the fact remains that he is the rightful heir, and members of the Spade resistance like Ralph would desperately want him to take the throne. This creates a tricky situation where Yuno will end up disappointing people no matter what he does, because if he goes back to Clover like nothing happened, then the Spade Kingdom will have no one to protect them from the next Dark Triad level threat. Yuno is the only person in Spade that can achieve Saint Stage, so if he was to abandon his people, it means they'll be less protected if the devils ever reappear, or if there's another crisis involving devil hosts. On the flip side, if he decides to stay, then it means the end of his vow with Asta, which has been a major driving force for their actions in the series so far. To break this promise would be a huge change in direction from Tabata, and it would likely mean that Yuno gets less screen time from now on, as he'd be separated from all the other main characters. This is where Ciel comes in, as by her being alive, she can solve this problem by taking back the throne herself. Like I said earlier, it's entirely possible her moon magic is arcane stage, so there's a chance that Ciel is strong enough to lead the Spade Kingdom after this arc is over. Even so, we do have to acknowledge the other possibility that after being a prisoner for 17 years, she might suffer from severe PTSD, and in that scenario she wouldn't have the mental capacity to be in charge of a whole country. Ultimately, that means that Yuno might still have to stay behind in Spade, because no matter what, the nation needs at least one person in its ranks who can fight off the devil, and if the queen isn't in the right frame of mind, then surely it's down to her Saint Stage having son to take on that responsibility. This is supported by the fact that earlier this year on the Black Clover website, there was a burnt photo of Yuno and Asta, almost like it's foreshadowing that their vow will be broken. Interestingly, their fist bump is still intact, so what I think this means is that they will still be friends and they'll still be rivals, but their promise to become the Wizard King has to end for more important reasons. I mean, in Asta's case, he still can become the Wizard King, and he made a good case for it by destroying the ancient demon. But what I mean is that their vow, their promise to, go for it together and try and get this role, see who will come out on top, that would be over. Anyway guys, if you like this theory, then let me know in the comments, do you think Ciel being alive makes it more likely or less likely that Yuno stays in Spade? As always, thank you for watching the video, and be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and until the next one, peace out.